The hour of convening having arrived, all members of this House will please report to their designated seat. All members. Mr. Clerk, would you ring the bell, please? All members will please take their seats. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green and answer yes or here to signify their presence in the chamber. Please answer loudly so that the clerk's office can hear you. Mr. Clerk, you may unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Honolowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Clark, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore, B, Moore, C, Morris, M, Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith, M, Stevens, M, Stevenson, Thomas, A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams, M.F., Williams, N, Wilson, Beasley, Teague,
Here.
Bonner,
Here.
Buckner,
Here.
Burchett,
Here.
Caldwell,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
Cantrell,
Here.
Dickerson,
Here.
Dukes,
Here.
Gamble,
Here.
Gilliard,
Here.
Gordon,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Gullett,
Here.
Jones, J.B.,
Here.
Kirby, Lott, Mathis,
Here.
Metz, Momtahan,
Here.
Park,
Here.
Pruitt, Rogers,
Here.
Singleton,
Here.
Stovall,
Here.
Williams, R,
Present.
Bodie, Davis, Dreyer, Hutchinson, Jones, J, Kelly, Kirby, Knight, Lopez Romero, Lott, Metz,
Here.
Wen, Perkel, Wilkerson.
Okay, members will take a moment and look at the board and be sure that it is accurate. Representative Moore. Any others? Mr. Clerk may lock the machines. Doorkeepers will close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Another beautiful day outside today for Legislative Day 34. And we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 166th House District, the chairman of the Aging and Human Relations and Aging Committee, Representative Jesse Petrea. Representative Petrea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, colleagues. It is an honor for me today to introduce you to a dear friend of mine and my pastor at Calvary Baptist Church. About 8 years ago, Kenny Grant came to our church and has been a blessing to my family and to our entire congregation. He is someone that is renowned, frankly, throughout our community. I think everyone in our delegation here knows him and knows him well. We're all excited about you being here today, Pastor. But Kenny is from Brunswick, and he and his wife Shirley have 4 children. He's pastored in Brunswick, and he's pastored in Savannah for many years now. And an interesting thing about Kenny is he is a former Marine Corps drill instructor, and he is known for his unique style of preaching. And so y'all are going to love meeting my pastor, Pastor Kenny Grant. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, Brother Jesse. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the great privilege I have this morning to come, for the invite to be the chaplain of the day for this great assembly. I want to thank you on behalf of citizens of Georgia for your service. Thank you for serving our great state. I want to recite a poem for you by James Patrick Kinney. It's called The Cold Within. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in the dark and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the stories told. Their dying fire in need of logs, the first person held his back. For on the faces around the fire, he noticed that one was black. The next man sat across the way and saw one not of his church, and just could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The next man sat in tattered clothes while he gave his coat a hitch and said, "Why should what I have be used to warm the filthy rich?" The rich man just sat back and thought of all he had in store and how to keep what he had gained from the dirty, shiftless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, and what he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. And the last man in this forlorn group did naught but what was gain, given only to the ones who gave to him was how he played the game. Now these sticks of wood in death's cold grip is proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. I have been helped in my life by knowing that I do not have a right to be heard. That's helpful. When you're the 5th child of 6 children, you learn early. You do not have a right to be heard, and I have certainly learned that I do not have a right to be agreed with. And I've learned also that when you traffic in truth, most times you won't be agreed with. Now, truth is truth, and it does not depend upon consensus. The truth is the truth if everybody agrees, and the truth is the truth if nobody agrees. And Jesus said, "If you continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. You will know the truth, and the truth is what will free you. Free you of false concepts and ideas and notions that are absolutely binding." The writer of Proverbs said in Proverbs 23:23, "Buy the truth and do not sell it. Buy the truth and do not sell it. Now, that one verse speaks of the principle of truth, the purchase of truth, and the pawning of truth. We live in a day of information. Information is at our fingertips. Everyone has a device. You remember when this used to be simply a phone? Now it is a device. And we have so much information at our fingertips. But while we have more and more information, it seems that we have less and less truth. Truth is to information what nutrients are to food. It's possible to have a bulging belly with food and yet be starved nutritionally. And it's possible to be weighted down with information and be starving for truth. I determined in the 5 minutes that I have, and I can barely clear my throat in 5 minutes, not to lecture, but to ask the questions that I have here, 3 questions. And I'm reminded of what David said. He said, "Search me, O God. Search me, O God." It's not my mama, not my daddy, my brother, not my sister, but it's me, O Lord. Search me, O God. Know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts and see if there be any wicked way in me, not in them, but in me. David said also in Psalm 19, verse 14, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable, O Lord, unto thee, my strength and my redeemer." Here are the 3 questions today. Who, if anyone, do you currently judge to be so wrong, so unworthy, that you can't bring yourself to hear or cooperate with? That's a question for you today. Number 2, have you traded your integrity and honesty and humanity because platform requires it of you? Number 3, are you contributing in division and disunity at the expense of character and to the detriment of the people who elected you? These are questions for you today. As we close our eyes together to pray, I'm going to ask that we all picture ourselves around that dying fire. Can we pray together? Oh Lord, you see our hearts. You see what is truly there in ways we can't and probably don't want to. If we saw our hearts, oh Lord, it would lay us low. But you know this. This is what we need, to see ourselves through your eyes. There are people who are willing to see and to be changed. We'll know, Lord, because it will show. Those who lead in giving first, loving first, humbling themselves first. Because that's what you did. You gave, you loved, you humbled yourself to be killed on a sinner's cross on our behalf. You held back nothing from us. You showed us how. When we see it in each other, we will know it came from you. Lord, help us to give ourselves to you and to each other. That's the only way. And we pray this in the strong name of our blessed Redeemer, our Savior, your Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Doorkeepers will open the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits read the proceeding of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct. And one more thing, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with dirty feet. Gandhi.
I hope somebody's writing those down. You are an inspiring chairman, Chairman Hogan. Chairman Hogan, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on the 59th moves following be established as the order of business during the first period of the unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, report of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 1228 by Representative Buckner, the 137th, Stevens, the 164th. Oliver, the 82nd, Trammell, the 132nd, Robichaud, the 48th, and others. A bill be titled an act to amend Article 7, Chapter 4, Title 49, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to medical assistance generally.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1229 by Representative Buckner, the 137th, Stevens, the 164th, Trammell, the 132nd, Couch, the 50th, and Ullowitz, the 42nd. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 48 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to revenue and taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 1230 by Representative Kendrick of the 93rd, Bodie the 62nd, Wilson the 80th, Bazemore the 63rd, Kennedy the 102nd, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Article 2, Chapter 21 and Title 50 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to state tort claims.
Judiciary.
House Bill 1231 by Representative Green of the 151st, Yurt of the 152nd, Hobson the 153rd. A bill being titled Act to amend an act to create the Chehaw Park Authority. Approved date.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 1232 by Representative Davis of the 87th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 12 of Title 15 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to grand juries.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 1233 by Representative Powell of the 32nd. Bill be titled an act to amend an act to provide for a homestead exemption from the city of Livonia ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Resolution 1590 by Representative Schofield, the 60th, Clark of the 180th, Smyrie of the 135th, Bennett of the 94th, Hobson of the 153rd. a resolution creating the House Study Committee on creating a respectful and open world for natural hair.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 1597 by Representative Taylor, the 173rd. A resolution honoring the life of Major Henry Talmadge Elrod and dedicating a bridge in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1598 by Representative Taylor, 173rd. A resolution recognizing United States military veterans and dedicating a bridge in their honor.
Transportation.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Irwin of the 28th to be entitled an act to amend, revise, consolidate, and supersede several acts incorporating the town of Tallulah Falls.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Unnumbered House Resolution by Representative Hatchett and others urging all law enforcement agencies in the state of Georgia to implement psychological testing and improve current training practices for peace officers.
Public safety and homeland security.
Senate Bill 509 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd, a bill to be entitled an act to abolish the Glynn County Police Department.
Governmental affairs.
Senate Bill 512 by Senator Jones of the 25th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to create the Central State Hospital Local Redevelopment Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1219 by Representative Williams of the 145th, a bill to amend an act creating the Central State Hospital Local Redevelopment Authority. House Bill 1220 by Representative Smith of the 41st, a bill relating to general provisions regarding public utilities and public transportation. House Bill 1221 by Representative Kelly of the 16th and Cook of the 18th, a bill to amend an act to provide a homestead exemption from Ralston County school ad valorem district taxes. House Bill 1222 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, a bill relating to professions and businesses. House Bill 1223 by Representative Watson of the 172nd, Campbell of the 171st, a bill to amend an act to establish an airport authority for Colquitt County. House Bill 1224 by Representative Gertler of the 8th and Irwin of the 28th, a bill to amend an act to amend, revise, consolidate, and supersede the several acts incorporating the town of Tallulah Falls. House Bill 1225 by Representative Gertler of the 8th, a bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Young Harris. House Bill 1226 by Representative Shannon of the 84th, Beverly of the 143rd, Jackson of the 64th, Wynn of the 89th, Cannon of the 58th, and others, a bill relating to arrest by private persons. House Bill 1227 by Representative Chokas of the 138th, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the Unified Government of Catoosa, Chattahoochee County to levy an excise tax. House Resolution 1551 by Representative Turner of the 21st, Caldwell of the 20th, Stovall of the 74th, Clark of the 147th, Thomas of the 39th, and others. Resolution creating the National Statuary Hall Collection Replacement Committee. House Resolution 1552 by Representative Park of the 101st, Williams of the 37th, Wilson of the 80th, Kennard of the 102nd, Clark of the 108th, and others. Resolution urging all Georgians to participate in the 2020 census to ensure a complete and accurate count. House Resolution 1589 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th, Scoggins of the 14th, and Lumsden of the 12th. Resolution honoring the life of Mr. Carl Evans and dedicating an intersection in his memory. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman of the Committee on Governmental Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Governmental Affairs has under consideration the following bills and resolutions of the Senate. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House. Following recommendations: Senate Bill 504 do pass. Senate Resolution 793 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination has had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1163 do pass. House Bill 1169 do pass. House Bill 1170 do pass. House Bill 1171 do pass. House Bill 1173 do pass. House Bill 1174 do pass. House Bill 1175 do pass. House Bill 1176 do pass. House Bill 1177 do pass. House Bill 1178 do pass. House Bill 1179 do pass. House Bill 1180 do pass. House Bill 1181 do pass. House Bill 1182 do pass. House Bill 1183 do pass. House Bill 1189 do pass. House Bill 1191 do pass. House Bill 1192 do pass. House Bill 1193 do pass. House Bill 1194 do pass. House Bill 1196 do pass. House Bill 1197 do pass. House Bill 1200 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley of the 160th District, Chairman. Representative Smith of the 134th District, Chairman, on Committee on Rules, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Rules had in consideration the following resolution of the Senate, and it's instructed me to report the same back to the House. The following recommendation: Senate Resolution 19 do pass by substitute. Representative Jan Tankersley of the 160th District, Chairman on Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had in consideration the following bills of the House and Senate. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House. The following recommendations: House Bill 1201 do pass. House Bill 1202 do pass. House Bill 1215 do pass. House Bill 1218 do pass. House Bill 1166 do pass. House Bill 1167 do pass. House Bill 1198 do pass. House Bill 1199 do pass. House Bill 1216 do pass. Senate Bill 490 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
Okay, we're going on now to the local calendar. Going on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. There is a note in your notebooks that we've gotten further legal opinions on. I don't think there are any bills that require a recorded 2/3 roll call vote. That's the opinion of the chair, and so it'd be majority votes on all of them. We have somebody wanting to be recognized in 341. That appears to be Representative Gullett. Purpose does
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion.
What purpose does Representative Gullett rise?
To make a motion?
State your motion.
I'd like to make a motion to remove HB 1167 from local consent calendar so that the bill may be voted on separately.
What was the bill number again?
It's HB 1167.
Okay, the gentleman has moved that House Bill 1167 be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. What purpose does the minority leader of the House rise?
Object to the motion.
Okay, so we're going to, does the gentleman move? Does the gentleman move?
Yes.
The gentleman moves. All right, so the question before the body will be whether House Bill 1167 will be removed from the local calendar and voted on separately. All those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Lackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Efstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankers, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Stevens M., Stevenson, Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams M., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
No.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
No.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
No.
Dukes,
No.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard, Gordon,
No.
Green, Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B., Kirby,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz,
No.
Momtahan,
Yes.
Park,
No.
Pruitt, Rogers,
Yes.
Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall,
No.
Williams, R.
Yes.
Alexander, Bennett, Cooper, Dreyer, Gordon, Green,
Yes.
Hatchett, Green was a yes. Holland, Jackson, M. Jones, J. Jones, T. Kelly, Kendrick, McCall, Moore, B. Perkel, Powell, Smyrie, Williams, MF, Cooper,
Okay, members will take a moment and look at the board and make sure that the board accurately reflects your vote. Representative Todd Jones is trying to vote. Okay. Take a moment and look. Mr. Clerk, you may lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 94, the nays are 64, and the bill has been removed from the local calendar to be voted on separately. What purpose does the minority leader of the House rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I would move to lay House Bill 1167 on the table.
The gentleman has moved that House Bill 1167 be placed on the table. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none and the bill is on the table. Which now takes us to the local calendar without House Bill 1167. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 1163 by Representative Green of the 151st, Randolph County. House Bill 1169 by Representative Green of the 151st, City of Shellman. House Bill 1170 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Newton County. House Bill 1171 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Newton County. House Bill 1173 by Representative Green of the 151st, City of Bluffton. House Bill 1174 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, Newton County. House Bill 1175 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, City of Port Wentworth. House Bill 1176 by Representative Jones of the 47th, City of Mountain Park. House Bill 1177 by Representative Benton of the 31st, City of Jefferson. House Bill 1178 by Representative Benton of the 31st, City of Commerce. House Bill 1179 by Representative Benton of the 31st, Jackson County. House Bill 1180 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th, Chattooga County. House Bill 1181 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th, Johnson County. House Bill 1182 by Representative Dubnik of the 29th, Hall County. House Bill 1183 by Representative Smith of the 133rd, Town of Pine Mountain. House Bill 1189 by Representative Dubnik of the 29th, Hall County. House Bill 1191 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Bacon County. House Bill 1192 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Pierce County. House Bill 1193 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Brantley County. House Bill 1194 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Ware County. House Bill 1196 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Coffee County. House Bill 1197 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, Charlton County. House Bill 1200 by Representative Williams, 148th, Wilcox County. House Bill 1201 by Representative McLaurin of the 51st, Fulton County. House Bill 1202 by Representative McLaurin of the 51st, Fulton County. House Bill 1215 by Representative Jackson of the 64th, Fayetteville City. House Bill 1218 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Hart County. House Bill 1166 by Representative Bonner of the 72nd, Fayette County. House Bill 1198 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Hart County. House Bill 1199 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Franklin County. House Bill 1216 by Representative Jackson of the 64th, Union County. Senate Bill 490 by Senator Thompson of the 14th, City of Cartersville. That completes the reading of the local legislation calendar.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark, Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Clanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M, Jaspers, Jones J, Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G, Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L, Smith R, Smith V, Smyrie, Stevens R, Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E, Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A, Williamson, Yurda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D, Clark J, Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D, Jones S, Jones T, Jones V, Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B, Moore C, Morris M, Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M, Stevens M, Stevenson, Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague, Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes, Gamble, Gilliard,
Yes. Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lott.
Yes.
Mathis. Metz.
Yes. Yes.
Momtahan.
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
Pruitt. Rogers.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Williams, R.
Yes.
Beasley Teague.
Yes.
Bonner.
Yes.
Bruce. Carter. Clark, H. Dukes.
Yes.
England. Gardner. Hobson. Jones, V. Kendrick. Lumsden. Sharper. Smith, M. Smyrie. Thomas, E. Welch. Williams, A. Williamson. Wilson.
Members are asked to take a look at the board and make sure that your vote is recorded properly. Representative Sharper. Is your vote recorded properly? Okay. Mr. Clerk, you may lock the machines. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 156, the nays are 1. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. All right, we're going on now to morning orders. Chair's going to ask all members to please be respectful, be seated, and give attention to the members in the well. We have a number who have signed up, and ask you to keep in mind a total of 10 minutes for all of the morning orders. Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for a morning order. She waves. Chair recognizes Representative Paris for a morning order. I'm going to go to the next one. Chair recognizes Representative Burnow for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of the members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. We are wearing kente cloth apparel in celebration of Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. Dating back to 1865, it was on June 19th that the Union soldiers, led by Major Gerald Gordon Granger, landed at Galveston, Texas, with news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. This was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official January the 1st, 1863. The Emancipation Proclamation had little impact on the Texans due to the minimal number of Union troops to enforce the new executive order. My friends in Texas will celebrate today by eating watermelon, barbecue, and drinking red soda. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Paris for a morning order. Is she here?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Colleagues, I rise today to bring to your attention the day of Juneteenth, which is today. This is a great day in American history, something not to be just celebrated by African Americans, but also to be celebrated by all of America. It's a very important day. It's the day of emancipation of the last group of slaves that did not know that their slave owners had broken the law and not acknowledged the President's Emancipation Proclamation that had been signed in 1863, 2.5 years earlier. Thank you. I hope you remember this day and honor it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Gerald Green for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I want to ask all of you to stand as I take a moment this morning to recognize the significance of this day, June 19, also known as Juneteenth. 155 years ago today, Major General Gordon Granger landed in Galveston, Texas, and informed the people who were enslaved that the Civil War had ended and that slavery had been abolished. Although President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was over 2 years old, the over 250,000 people that were enslaved in Texas were shocked to hear the news that they were free. Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of slavery ending in the United States. I hope that we all take time today not only to celebrate this monumental step in our nation's history, but also to speak out against injustices that still happen in America today. And before this session is over, it is vital that we pass thoughtful legislation like House Bill 426 that will help so many seek justice and stamp out hate. And I will leave you all with this Bible verse from Micah, the 6th chapter, verse 8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues.
Chair recognizes Representative Evans for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, Monday morning, I was moved by your welcome, and I felt a spirit of unity in this body as you addressed the crises our state is facing with COVID-19, record unemployment, impending budget cuts, the horror of Ahmaud Arbery's and Rayshard Brooks' murder, and protests over racial injustice and police brutality. I appreciate your strong words that if we do not pass a hate crimes bill this session, it will be a stain on Georgia. And I appreciate your insistence in enforcement of public health measures like wearing masks in this chamber to protect our colleagues and neighbors. I come before you today to express my grave concern that we are about to contribute to another injustice and one that we have the power to prevent. The Senate has produced their budget, which is being debated now with $2.6 billion in cuts. Elimination of Public Defender Appellate Division, $1 billion in cuts to K through 12 education, draconian cuts to behavioral health and disabilities. I know we have to make difficult decisions, but it is a false choice that these devastating cuts are our only solution. I come before you now to ask, in the same spirit of unity for our colleagues, you who are in positions of power, to bring forth legislation to increase revenues. By raising revenues like the tobacco tax to the national average, the state could gain benefits of $600 million per year, disincentivize smoking, decrease addiction, improve health, and save hundreds of millions in healthcare dollars. By eliminating the double tax loophole, where Georgians making an average of $240,000 a year can write up their state income tax payments, we can raise $175 million in additional revenues. By trimming corporate tax credits, such as capping our film tax credit $100 million, restricting transferability, and eliminating and reducing special interest tax breaks, we can raise additional hundreds of millions. I have spoken with many of my colleagues across the aisles, and most of them agree that it makes sense to increase revenues to minimize the devastating pain of these budget cuts. Please, I implore you, let's work together today to come up with budgetary solutions that support Georgians across our state and give them a fighting chance to succeed during this pandemic. This is our responsibility to serve the common good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Dukes for a morning order.
All right, let's speed it up a little bit here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the members of the Assembly. As you know, Albany, Georgia, Dougherty County, and Southwest Georgia was hit very hard by the pandemic. But what I come forward this morning is to thank the governor for those efforts that he made and the state made in making sure that our community had the resources that we need. I also want to thank each and every one of you for just acknowledging us and reaching out to the members of our delegation here in our area by your words of kindness and consideration. You know, our community has been through a lot. We went through the floods of '94 where we lost almost 25% of our housing stock. We went through a tornado in 2016 and another one in 2017. We suffered a hurricane in 2018, but I'm here to tell you that there was nothing that compared or devastated our community like the COVID virus did. You see, it infected our entire community. It started in our church, so that was our community leaders, our lawyers, our doctors, our judges, just the people who kind of ran our community. Our neighbors and our friends were dying, and they had the virus. It put a fear and a calm over our community that you could never, ever imagine. But I'm here to tell you that in Southwest Georgia, we are tough people. In Albany, we tough. When we ran out of masks, we started making masks. When we ran out of sanitizer, Petrea Fields, who was making beer, started making sanitizers. And what we have done is we have given each of you a gift of it, just to let you know that we really thank you for that which you have done. But I want to share with you with this, and that is in our darkest hour, it was the believers who were infected, and we know and we knew that he would send a comforter to us, someone who would be able to wipe away our tears and soothe our sorrows. We would ask that you would stand and give a moment of prayer, a moment of silence for those 151 souls that were lost in Dougherty County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We yield the will.
Our time for morning orders has expired. We are now going to take up a special resolution. I'm going to ask all members to take your seats and give special attention. Mr. Clerk, would you please read a resolution?
Unnumbered resolution by Burns, the 159th England, and the 116th Parish, the 115th Tankersley, the 160th, and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Senator Jack Hill. Whereas the state of Georgia mourns the loss of one of its most distinguished citizens with the passing of Senator Jack Hill on April 6, 2020. And whereas Senator Hill was first elected to the Georgia Senate from the 4th District in 1990 and was reelected in 2018 in his 15th two-year term. And whereas during his tenure he served in many different leadership positions, including Chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee and Vice Chairman of the Senate Rules Committee. And whereas as Appropriations Chairman, his efforts to base funding on clearly defined purposes and measurements allowed the Senate to change the budget process in Georgia to a results-based form. And whereas over his illustrious career, Senator Hill sponsored key legislation that resulted in tangible benefits for the citizens of Georgia, such as the expansion of the state jobs tax credit for the economically depressed areas, the introduction and implementation of early voting, and a 5% fine surcharge aimed at funding local victim assistance programs statewide. And whereas his efforts in securing funding for state parks and academic institutions in his district have greatly improved the quality of life and education, exemplifying his efficiency as a public servant. And whereas an active community leader, Senator Hill served as chairman of the Tottenham County Development Authority, a Lion, a Rotarian, and head of a local historical preservation project that won a national award. And whereas he served as a guardian of his nation's freedom and liberty with the Georgia Air National Guard for 33 years as a unit commander and a state inspector general, he retired in 2004 from the United States Air Force Reserve, where he served as a Reserve Forces officer assigned to the Selective Service System. And whereas a man of deep and abiding faith, Senator Hill was an active member of the Reedsville Baptist Church, and whereas he was united in love and marriage to his wife Ruth Ann, and was blessed with 3 remarkable children and 7 outstanding grandchildren. And whereas he gave inspiration to many through his high ideals, morals, and deep concern for his fellow citizens, and the devotion, patience, and understanding he demonstrated to his family and friends were admired by others. Whereas he was a person of magnanimous strengths with an unimpeachable reputation for integrity, intelligence, fairness, and kindness. And by the example he made of his life, he made this world a better place in which to live. And whereas a compassionate and generous man, Senator Hill will long be remembered for his love of family, friendship, and community, and will be missed by all who had this great fortune of knowing him. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the member of this body join in honoring the life and memory of Senator Jack Hill and express their deepest and most sincere regret at his passing.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. On a normal day, when you present a resolution like this, some close friends of Senator Hill would be standing here with me. It's Chairman Parrish, Chairman Tankersley, Chairman Hitchens, and Chairman Werkheiser. But we'll carry on, as Jack would have us. On Monday, April the 6th, 2020, it will be remembered as a sad day for many in this state of Georgia. State Senator Jack Sutton Hill, age 75, passed away very unexpectedly at his desk working on state business in his district office in his hometown of Reidsville, Georgia. It's never easy, as we all know, to talk about the loss of a great friend. But today, I won't dwell on the loss. Instead, let us all celebrate the life of a dear friend, Jack Hill. But let me just say that selfishly, this has been a difficult time, missing Jack. The pain has been tangible, searing at times, and carried with it, for me, a constant feeling of profound loss. You see, Jack wasn't just a colleague or a public servant. He was part of my daily life, my daily existence. We chatted almost every day. He brought true friendship to me, sage advice, and humor to my life. I supplied a lot of his humor. I hope he got some of that back that he gave to me. He was my friend, my mentor, and one of my biggest champions in life. And now today I claim the title of being his most enthusiastic supporter. I hope now that he felt it and knew it. I think he did. More than ever, I have thought of Jack's unwavering love and sense of devotion to not just his friends and family, but to everyone in this great state of Georgia. Many friends and colleagues have shared their stories of Jack's steady leadership under this gold dome. Stories about the goodness of Jack Hill are plentiful. And Jack had his own repertoire of humorous stories about us all. Even you, Mr. Speaker. Beyond his brilliant mind and tireless work ethic, Jack was the definition of a servant leader that rose to the challenge placed before him some 30 years of serving this state of Georgia. Many of those years crafting budgets that demonstrated that Georgia was a state that valued the life of every man, woman, and child who called it home. None of us will ever fully comprehend the hours that Jack spent in his 6-county district, on the roads from Reidsville to Atlanta, and up and back as we call it, or in his office at this Capitol. Chairman England, you're probably one that has the closest idea of how many hours Jack spent in this work for Georgia. Jack was a devoted family man and a husband to Ruth Ann and father to those 2 daughters, Amy and Dawn, and 1 son, Lance, and grandfathers to 7 beautiful young ladies. And you always knew how very proud he was of them because he never missed an opportunity to brag on them. We shared stories of bragging on our twin granddaughters. He cared very deeply for his wife, Ruth Ann. Just like many of our spouses today, Ruth Ann was back at home supporting his efforts. And I assure you, he could never have accomplished what he did without Ruth Ann. She raised her children, worked as an elementary school principal, and helped run Hill Grocery. In recent years, Ruth Ann suffered from declining health. And Jack made sure that wherever he was, she was either with him or cared for in the best possible way. He agonized over the necessary periods of separation because of his legislative duties. He made more frequent trips back and forth from Atlanta to their home in Reidsville to check on her and make sure she had met her doctor's appointments. When Ruth Ann broke her hip in December, Jack was devastated for her, and we know that he worried even more. And then 18 days after we lost Jack on April 24th, we also lost Ruth Ann. Once again, in the middle of this pandemic, Ruth Ann was never told that Jack was gone, but she surely knew he wasn't there. I will miss Ruth Ann too, and the times my wife Dale and I shared with Jack and Ruth Ann on date nights out for dinner usually meeting up in Statesboro. Most of us did not get to attend Jack's funeral, but rest assured, we will celebrate his legacy in this Capitol, and we will celebrate his life further at some point in the fall of this year at Georgia Southern University, his beloved alma mater. You know, Jack had a lot of good stories, but he had one favorite one about a turtle sitting on the top of a fence post in the middle of a pasture on any dirt road in rural Georgia. He always wanted us to think about how that turtle got there in the first place. Well, I will think of Jack Hill with every passing fence post on the roads of Georgia and certainly in these halls. And remembering will provide my own personal appreciation for his life. Thank you, colleagues, this morning for letting me take this time to remember Senator Jack Hill today. It is important that we celebrate the lives of great Georgians, and Jack Hill was a great Georgian. And in doing so, we honor those gone before us and set the standard for the future. I grieve as you do, but thank God for the life of his servant, Senator Jack Hill. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, Chairman England, to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Leader, very well put. Jack Sutton Hill from Reedsville, Georgia. Senator Hill, I always kind of got tickled at him because on his name badge, that's all it said, Senator Jack Hill. It didn't say Appropriations Chairman. It said Senator Jack Hill. We all knew him as Mr. Chairman. He was my friend. I had the pleasure to meet him my first year down here, as I had a bill moving through the House, and then it was over in the Senate, and ran into a little obstacle in the Rules Committee, and I came down the steps a little bit upset, and my friend, the Majority Leader, saw me and grabbed me and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, I just had a little road bump here in the Rules Committee." He said, "Well, come on, we'll go see Jack." I said, "Jack who?" He said, "Jack Hill." I said, "We can't go see him. He's the Appropriations Chairman. He don't have time for us." He said, "But he's my senator." We walked in the door, and the door was open. We walked right in. Jack listened to me. First time we had met, he listened to me. Said, "Well, I'll be glad to ask for that bill tonight in Rules." That was the kind of guy Jack was. He would listen to you. If it was something he could do to help you, that's what he did. A few years later, I had the honor to begin being chairman of our House Appropriations Committee, which meant that I was going to have quite a few hours with Jack Hill. We got to work. I believe we completed 9 large budgets and 10 amended budgets in our time of working together in almost 10 years. I don't get to finish the last one I was working on with him. But as Chairman Tillery said this morning as he was doing the budget on the Senate side, Jack's hand is in it. We know it. We had conversations almost every day once we went into break in talking about how we were going to handle things, knowing that none of this was going to be easy at all. You see, Jack rode out the Great Recession as chairman. He knew what was ahead of us. I came in on the tail end of it. So I leaned on Jack an awful lot. We all did. With his passing, I feel a little more burdened today to do what's right for this state. and for our 10.5 million citizens. Because I know that's what Jack would want. That's what I want. He was my friend. He was my mentor. A lot of times he was like another father. He and my dad were actually only 15 days apart in age. He was like a big brother a lot of times. He was like a best friend most of the time. In fact, he had just this wicked sense of humor. And you just never knew when it was going to pop up. One of the traditions we started the first year that I was chairman, and we would always meet to work on the bill in my office because we got a little room spread out. If you've ever been in there, you got to know there's a big whiteboard there. Well, as we would trade jabs back and forth and pick on each other, when it was a good one, your initials would be on the board and you'd get a check mark. I think Jack won every year that I'm aware of. In fact, one day we had gotten down to one particular item that he and I both just really didn't know which way to turn. It dealt with the administrative office of the courts. All of you were gone back home to be with your families. We were here working, but we knew the speaker was here. And I said, well, Jack, I know one fellow that uses the courts all the time. He's in the building. Why don't we go ask him what's the best thing to do? Is that okay with you? He said, well, absolutely, because I don't know what we need to do here. So we're getting ready to get our papers up to come up here to meet with the speaker, and Martha and Christine and Melody Debussy with the Senate Budget Office. We were all there, and Christine jumps up and puts a little bit of lipstick on to come up here, and Jack just turns and looks at Martha just as plain as day and says, well, Martha, Christine's putting her face on. What you about to do? It was a little tense. Jack and I spoke many times on the same podium all over the state. And Jack had a couple of favorite jokes. And we have one place that we would go every year to speak to the same group of individuals. And every year, Jack would tell one of the two same jokes. And both were about Elizabeth Taylor. One was, Elizabeth Taylor told her 7th husband, don't worry, I'm not going to keep you long. The other one was, Elizabeth Taylor's 8th husband said to her, I know what to do, but I just don't know how to make it interesting. And we'd all laugh. We'd heard it a dozen times, 2 dozen, 3 dozen times, but we'd all laugh because we kind of knew we were expecting it to come, and we still found humor in it. One of the proudest things, other than family, that Jack was proud of, well, there were several things. His military service, his service to this great state. But when you ask Jack, what do you do? I'm a grocer. There, in that simple term, he and I found common ground. In a way, most of my career, I've been a grocer, mostly for 4-legged animals as a feed store owner. But there were a lot of similarities. And I think those similarities, those common paths, those common things that we had to deal with day to day in business is what really bound us together. I know that it helped us on many times make some difficult decisions because we had such a close-knit similarity in backgrounds. And we approached problems and issues much in the same way. And we could understand where the other one was when we were getting ready to make certain decisions, and we would usually stand there with each other. We didn't always agree. By nature of my position here and his position there, it was supposed to be adversarial. But quite frankly, it never was. I think that's the true test of a man when he's put under pressure, and pressure's coming from all sides, if he can still be kindly and justly in dealing with one another. Rural Georgia lost a great friend. But I'm going to tell you something that I learned firsthand in working with Jack Hill. All of Georgia lost a great man. He loved rural Georgia, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. He loved all of Georgia. Whether it's here in Atlanta, home in Reidsville, folks in Winder, it didn't matter. He loved our folks. He always pulled and pushed for the little man or woman to make sure that they were treated fairly. As Leader Burns had mentioned, 18 short days later, Miss Ruth Ann went on to meet the great reward with Jack there in heaven. I know he was happy to see her. You see, I watched him deal with Miss Ruth Ann's health issues, just as I watched my father deal with my mother's. Both of these men have taught me to be a better husband, or at least how to be a better husband. As Cindy, she's probably going to say that I hadn't put it into practice, but they did. They showed me what it is to be a good husband, a good helpmate. He loved Miss Ruth Ann. I loved Miss Ruth Ann. I loved Jack Hill. Thank you.
We are now going on to the rules calendar. We're going to the rules calendar. The clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 38.
Senate Bill 38 by Senator Ligon to the 3rd and Cowser to the 46th, entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to courts so as to exclude certain types of filings from the electronic filing requirements of superior and state courts. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Hogan to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the House. I come before you today with really a heavy heart with this bill. I was a county commissioner for 8 years, chairman twice, but we've got a problem with our county commission down in Glenn County and trying to clean up our police department. So we have a bill, Senate Bill 38, which is a general bill and allows 2 other bills to come forward to let the citizens of Glenn County vote on a binding resolution and one on a non-binding resolution to allow the police department of Glenn County to be come under the sheriff's department. So that's what this bill does. I could go through all the scenarios that the county police has been involved in and all their screw-ups. The last one was a Bon Aubrey that they should have arrested the Michaels at the scene, and they did not. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
It appears there are no questions.
Thank you. I would like to point out that this general bill does have a sunset of 2022, so it will not impact the rest of the state. Thank you. I'll leave it well.
The chair recognizes Representative Williams to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this bill, and I know many of us have gotten the letters. I represented a part of Glenn County when I came to this house, so I still have some friends over there, and I've spoken to many of them. They've asked to be allowed to vote on the question. There have been some real missteps over there, but I can say this, having met with several groups over there during the Avery situation, First and foremost, I got a chance to see law enforcement from another perspective. And the sheriff over there, Sheriff Jump, was always available and always ready to do what he could do to help during that entire situation. The people in Glenn County should be the deciding factor. And if we're not worried about what the people will say, then let's hear what they will say at the polls. I would certainly hope that we support this bill. It's good legislation. There have been too many missteps over there. It took 2 months for that police department to do what was right. It's time to go in another direction. With that, Madam Speaker, I'll yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Saines to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In reflecting on this bill and Representative Hogan and Senators Liggins' work on it, Beatitudes came to me that blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. That is what in our code section and in certification, law enforcement officers of this state are called, peace officers. It is crucial that we provide both our officers and our citizens the tools needed to act on the content and discontent to the local law enforcement agency in which they rely on. No citizen should lose their voice in this important matter. No officer or deputy of this state should be required to respond to calls for service within an agency or office that has not worked to build trust and accountability to those which they serve. Mutual trust is necessary to the step of collective safety and peace. Assurance that county police departments benefit from the same accountability that our Georgia Sheriff's Office is due through election is what Senate Bill 38 does. The death of Ahmaud Arbery was tragic. It cannot be justified. It cannot be undone. This bill is not a golden pill to that issue, but it is a step to the right direction. It reforms the systems in which this event occurred towards accountability, requiring that no agency forget who they are accountable to. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Jones to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good morning to my fellow House members. Today you're being asked to vote on SB 38. This is legislation that would allow the abolishment of the Glenn County Police Department by an action of the General Assembly. What this bill proposes is a contradiction and direct violation of the Home Rule provisions of the Georgia Constitution. On your desk, if it made it, I know different rules, is a list of talking points presented by the Association of County Commission Governments, the ACCG's Associate Legislative Director in committee hearings in strong opposition to what was then known as SB 317, which now appears before the House as SB 38. One statement before this body today regarding that bill made by ACCG quite succinctly states the issue here. Policing is one of the inherent powers of our Constitution, and this bill would appear to give the legislature the power to go around the county in abolishing a police department, end quote. The ACCG's testimony and their talking points brings forward a number of excellent points that by themselves are enough reason to vote this measure down. Voters elect county commissioners to oversee many things in the county, in particular the police department. For very good reason, the Constitution does not give the authority over a county police department to state representatives or state senators. This bill blatantly attempts to go around the Constitution and sets a dangerous precedent that the legislature can override the Home Rule provisions of our Constitution by an act of the General Assembly. I ask you to thoughtfully consider whether you want to open the door for the General Assembly to begin telling your county commission how to run your county. I submit the answer to that question is a clear and resounding no. What SB 38 proposes is dangerous to our state and your county and clearly violates home rule. On this basis alone, this bill should receive a resounding and overwhelming no vote by this body. But there's more. Before I explain the other reasons why this bad and misguided legislation deserves your no vote, I want you to be clear who amongst Glenn County's elected officials supports this bill, and more importantly, who opposes it. The list of Glenn County elected officials supporting this bill is a very short list. The 2 bill sponsors, and that's it. No other elected official elected solely by Glenn County citizens to represent Glenn County citizens support this bill. No one other than the 2 bill sponsors. In sharp contrast, the list of Glenn County elected officials and community leaders who oppose SB 38 is significant. SB 38 is strongly opposed by the duly elected 7-member Glenn County Board of Commissioners. It is opposed by the duly elected 5-member City of Brunswick Board of Commissioners, including the elected mayor of the City of Brunswick. The Glenn County NAACP also opposes this bill. And of course, as you can tell, I oppose this unconstitutional bill as the other state representative for Glenn County. I rarely quote Joe Biden. You might know why. But months ago, Biden said something that is quite on target with helping explain why this flawed legislation should go down in flaming defeat. Biden said, "We choose truth over facts." Biden could have been talking about the lack of truth being presented in the facts the sponsor of this flawed bill are stating. It is clear to me and the Glenn County Board of Commissioners that this bill's sponsors must be looking at an entirely different set of facts than the rest of us.
Gentlemen will suspend. The chair asks that the representative not refer directly or indirectly in a negative way to any member of the House.
Yes, ma'am, my apologies. So let's talk about the truth. While I realize it's not customary for bill sponsors to invite opposition testimony in the hearing of a bill, I believe the authors have taken that extraordinary step and have asked the Glenn County Board and should have asked the Glenn County Board of Commissioners to testify in committee. I can assure you, as I stand here today, that the truth is that the Glenn County Board of Commissioners wanted to testify, but they were not invited. They were squeezed out of this process, and I find that truth to be very telling. If the SB 38 sponsors do not want the full facts to come out before this body, that's what I would read into that. If the sponsors believe that the Glenn County Board of Commissioners is so inept at managing the county police department, what better opportunity than by asking the commission to testify as to their actions in committee hearings? The bill sponsors did not do that. Each of you should have received, and I know our inboxes get swamped, but you should have received 2 letters in your inbox today, one from the Glenn County Board of Commission Chair and one from Glenn County Commissioner Alan Booker. Alan Booker makes a couple points that I should have incorporated, but I'm going to read these. These are very, very quick. Earlier this year, this is quoting Commissioner Booker. Earlier this year, Glenn County conducted a citizen survey in which citizens were asked about their satisfaction with the county departments and services we provide. This survey was statistically valid and demographically representative of our population. 77% of citizens surveyed responded as having the highest satisfaction or the next level of satisfaction with the GCPD, the Glenn County Police Department. Commissioner Booker goes further to say, a Republican ballot initiative on the June 9th Glenn County primary ballot on this past June 9th reflected the lack of support for the state to dictate the structure of county government. Nearly 77% of Glenn County voters who voted in the Republican primary said no, the state should not dictate the structure of county government. And then Commissioner Booker finishes with his statement, it is clear from the citizen survey and the ballot initiative that abolishing the GCPD is not a request being made by the majority of our citizens. Rather, and this is important, this is a political maneuver to turn recent criticism away from the District Attorney of the Brunswick Judicial Circuit. As you may be aware, Attorney General Chris Carr has requested the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice, to conduct an investigation into possible prosecutorial misconduct of the District Attorneys of the Brunswick and Waycross Judicial Circuit. I think that's very important and very telling. I will now explain a little bit further the flawed thinking and list of reasons why the truths of this bill are being ignored in this proposed legislation. As I've already stated, this bill flies in the face of the home rule provisions of our state constitution. That alone is reason to vote no. But there are more good reasons why SB 38 is opposed by a majority of Glenn County elected officials and, as I just read, Glenn County citizens. The bill sponsors have made the case that the dissolution of the Glenn County Police Department is as a result of recommendations from the embattled and troubled Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney. I must point out that this is the same DA's office that is currently being investigated by the U.S. Department of Justice into possible prosecutorial misconduct. While the Brunswick Judicial Circuit DA is not on trial here today, it is the DA's recommendations that are the primary reason why the sponsors of SB 38 are bringing forth this highly flawed bill. I'm content to let the federal investigation of the DA play itself out and let those findings speak for themselves. But if you knew the extent of allegations the feds are investigating, you would agree that the DA's office should be disqualified from having any bearing on the future of the Glenn County Police Department. I contend that the DA's motivations in supporting dissolution of the GCPD are political and are not based on the best interest of Glenn County. As I said, the bill sponsors cite a grand jury report in their justification for overriding Glenn County elected officials and for ignoring home rule. So a little bit more truth here. The very first grand jury recommendation was, number one, and this is important, allow the Glenn County Board of Commissioners to address the issues raised regarding the Glenn County Police Department. SB 38, if passed by this body and signed into law, ignores the grand jury's very first recommendation, and I keep emphasizing, violates the constitutional authority granted to the commissioners by the Georgia Constitution. Secondly, the second grand jury recommendation was to introduce legislation like SB 38, but only in the event the issues were not addressed and resolved by the county commission. Unfortunately, it's evident that the bill sponsors have chosen to totally ignore the grand jury's very first recommendations they cite as justification for SB 38. As soon as the grand jury report was issued, the two sponsors began crafting their legislation to terminate the county police department. Sadly, before undertaking their legislative effort, the bill sponsors never even bothered to ask or meet with the Glenn County Board of Commissioners to find out what the commission's response was to the grand jury report. Nor did the bill sponsors inquire as to what steps the commission had put into action to fix the problems within the police department. One of the important truths here is that the Glenn County Commission and the new police administration had already begun taking substantive changes in the police department's leadership from the top down. In Senate committee testimony, the primary bill sponsor incorrectly stated that no changes had been made to senior county police leadership. The truth is that every one of the previous police administration's senior leadership, primarily captains, who were the source of many of the police department's problems, are now gone. This effort by the commission and the new police chief was actively being implemented at the very time the sponsors of SB 38 began crafting their flawed legislation. I'm telling you the truth in sharp contrast to the distortion of facts that were reported in the Senate committee. The bill sponsors are also choosing to ignore the truth that the International Association of Police Chiefs completed and submitted a study and audit of the county police department to the county commission, an audit requested by the Glynn County Commission. The Glynn County Commission continues to this day actively working to fix police department problems identified by the audit. That is the truth. I must point out here that the new police chief, who I and the County Commission believe is a consummate professional, inherited the problems he and the County Commission are working hard to correct today. Ironically, the previous police department's administration that was in place for 14 years, and which is the primary reason for the police department's current problems, had the full and vocal support of the district attorney. This is the same embattled DA who now seems intent on shutting down the Glynn County Police Department, working hand in hand with the SB 38 sponsors. It's quite amazing to me that the DA never saw fit to address or point out the systemic problems that existed under the previous police administration's 14-year reign, an administration that the embattled DA fully supported. It will not surprise me in the least if the DA is found to be complicit in many of the Glynn County Police Department's problems when the final federal investigation is completed. So, two fundamental questions are, why didn't the bill sponsors heed the first recommendation of the grand jury? And two, why didn't the bill sponsors engage the Glynn County Board of Commissioners to learn what the commission was already undertaking and what the commission's plans are going forward? There is no logical explanation or answer to these questions. The bill sponsors never approached the Board of Commissioners, nor did they have any substantive discussions to see what the commission was doing or planning to do in response to the grand jury report. Again, the first recommendation by the grand jury was, and I quote, allow the Board of Commissioners, end quote, the opportunity to address and resolve the police department's issues. Another and very important truth is that the new police chief, with the full support of the county commission, called on the GBI to help his internal investigation of the police department. The police chief, to his credit, discovered that the problems he inherited from the previous chief's 14-year tenure were so deeply rooted that he knew he needed outside help. So the police chief and the commissioners sought that outside professional help in the GBI. The police chief's motivations was first and foremost to identify, then root out and fix the department problems, and to do so with full and open transparency. My overall point is this: the county police department, supported by the county commission, is actively making the necessary and fundamental changes to the way the county police department operates. I'm asking you today to allow that process to continue by voting no on SB 38. To do otherwise supersedes the authority granted to the county commission by the Georgia Constitution and the voters of Glynn County. The Glynn County Board of Commissioners, as per our state constitution and as per recommendations of the grand jury, must be allowed to fulfill its constitutional duties and the authority it has already been granted by the voters of Glynn County. Honoring our Constitution's home rule provisions and the authority granted by the Glynn County voters to the County Commission will be upheld today by your no vote on SB 38. The General Assembly, if it decides it wants to interfere in local control, should pass a constitutional amendment changing the Constitution's home rule provisions. But we must act correctly and constitutionally today and vote no on SB 38 to stop this unconstitutional backdoor maneuver. The Glynn County Commission, and I'm wrapping up, and the majority of county elected officials and other county leaders is asking that this body do the right thing and leave control of the Glynn County Police Department where it rightfully and legally belongs, at home, in Glynn County, under the control of duly elected officials. This is the right thing to do for Glynn County and for the state of Georgia. Please vote no on SB 38. Thank you, and I yield the well.
The gentleman has questions if you care. If not, for what purpose does Representative Turner rise? He waves. For what purpose does Representative Welch rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I'm personally offended and think that the rules of ethics of our chamber have been violated by the gentleman's representation that two honorable men of both this House and the Senate are somehow linked to some investigation of a DA whose actions are independent of these two bodies?
It is imperative that members treat each other with respect and not refer directly or indirectly as to motive or a negative characteristic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For what purpose does Representative Williams rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I heard several names called, particularly Commissioner Brooks, and these were the folk that eventually had to say that the district attorney was involved, but is it not further true that after the horrendous killing, that the officers from the county police department had a call that they made to the district attorney before taking action, and on her volition, they did not arrest. They needed clearance from this lady who they now claim is so bad. And when she told them not to, they did not arrest her. And is it not true that I heard many names in all of these polls that would sound like it's 100% opposition, but I happen to know many of these folk, and that is not the case. Now, the bread makers might be against it, but the folk that eat the bread want to have a chance to vote.
As the gentleman so states, the chair, for what purpose does Chairman Petrea rise?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it not true that if this body listened to the wisdom of the representative who just spoke, that we would have no welcome center in McIntosh County, no oyster bill in Georgia today, and now no good police protection in Glenn County?
Chair is sure the gentleman knows of which he speaks. The chair recognizes Floor Leader LaRicchia. Or for what purpose does Floor Leader LaRicchia rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Madam Speaker, that the representative from the 167th was quoted in the Brunswick News saying that the governor was going to take action in regards to this DA, and when I questioned that to the governor's staff, they had no idea what he was talking about, in addition to the fact that in the 5 or 6 times he said he was telling the truth. If you have to tell people that you're telling the truth, you better be honest.
Well, the chair will not respond, and it's best if we do not ascribe negative characteristics to a member of this body, but thank you. The chair recognizes Chairman Fleming for the chair's time. Is there an objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered, and the chair recognizes Chairman Fleming for the chairman's time.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise in support of Senate Bill 38. And my efforts here and now will be to correct what I believe is some misinformation that has been said from this well. Before I do that, though, I want to thank Representative Al Williams and I want to thank Representative Hogan for all the work that they did to support this. I also want you to know that this bill came out of the House Judiciary Committee unanimously with Democrat and Republican support. Everyone voted for it. I also want everybody in this House to know that anybody can come testify before a bill in the House Judiciary Committee if they want to, and they do not have to be invited. I know that the people who were referenced of not being invited knew that this bill was going on because I got some emails from them. Now, they may have to answer a question or two about what they've done when they come to the House Judiciary Committee. We have been known to ask a question or two there, but if I was them, I don't blame them for not coming because I would not want to answer for some of the things that they have not been doing in Glenn County. It has also been proposed from this well that by you voting for this bill, you may abolish the police department of Glenn County. Now, this may be the most important point as you think through whether or not you want to vote yes or no on this bill. This bill will not abolish the police department of Glenn County. It will simply allow the people of Glenn County to vote as to whether or not they want to turn the policing authority of their county back over to a sheriff. Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly the way you create a police department in Georgia. When you take away the policing power from a sheriff, the people must vote. This bill is set up such that the only way that could happen is for the people of Glenn County to decide for themselves. I heard some information about polls. I tell you what, the best poll I know of is on Election Day, when the people get to decide how they want to vote. Now, you cannot support this bill if you don't want to, but I would say to you, allow the people of Glenn County to decide what kind of problems they have there and whether or not they want something different. And they will let you know on Election Day how they feel. You usually don't go wrong when you allow the people to vote on a question such as this. I would recommend this bill to you, and I will tell you also, it is not unconstitutional. We do not have a habit in the House Judiciary Committee of sending unconstitutional bills to the floor of this House. And I think I'm going to stop there because I might too be admonished by the chair if I continued. Ladies and gentlemen, please support this bill. It is a good bill, and it will allow the people of Glenn County to vote. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. The chair, for what purpose does Chairman Welch rise?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify. I've had a few questions. I have a parliamentary inquiry is what I have. I have a parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you. I've had a number of members text me and regarding the constitutionality of this particular measure. And is it not true that the Constitution, the supplementary powers of the Constitution, authorizes the General Assembly to set up procedures in which local governments may choose to either act or not act on the supplementary powers, such as a police power, that the Constitution provides?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that of which he speaks.
One more parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Madam Chair, thank you. And thus, in this procedural bill, is it not true that this bill would authorize a procedure by which the people of Glenn County could decide whether or not to maintain a county police department through the use of a referendum?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that of which he speaks. The chair, for what purpose does Representative Vernon Jones rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Chair.
State your inquiry.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, isn't it true I did not get a chance to ask a gentleman who just left the well a question, so I'm asking a question now?
That is true.
Madam Speaker, is it not true that the gentleman stated that the only way the police department can be abolished is through a local referendum? First, a resolution passed by the local government, then the voters will have to pass a referendum in order for that to happen.
Well, the representatives will be making that decision shortly.
But isn't it also true, though, that it says on line 13, number 1, a local act of the General Assembly or a resolution of the governing authority of the county? So the General Assembly, a local bill, could abolish the police department as well. Is that correct?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that of which he speaks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For what purpose does the Minority Leader Trammell rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that the Georgia NAACP supports this bill?
I'm sure the gentleman knows that of which he speaks. For what purpose does Representative Moore rise?
I waive.
She waives. For what purpose does Representative Saines rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that both through the initiation by the county commission or through the initiation through the local delegation, both require the referendum be made by the citizens in which it serves?
The representatives will make that decision shortly. Thank you. It appears that is all of the questions. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine.
Alexander, Manulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Abstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yurda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Huen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Stevens M., Stevenson, Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Cantrell.
Yes.
Dickerson.
Yes.
Dukes.
Yes.
Gamble.
Yes.
Gilliard. Gordon.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Gullett.
Yes.
Jones, J.B.
No.
Kirby.
Yes.
Lott.
No.
Mathis.
Yes.
Metz.
Yes.
Momtahan.
Yes.
Park.
Yes.
Pruitt. Rogers.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Stovall.
Yes.
Williams, R.
Yes.
Burchett. Bernal. Burns. Carter. Donahue. Evans. Gilliard. Hatchett. Jaspers. Jones, J. Meeks. Paris. Smith, M. Smith, R. Wilkerson.
Have all members voted? And please check, does the board reflect your vote as you wish it to be? Scotty, there's one up in the gallery. How would Representative Parrish like to vote? The record will reflect. If all members have voted, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 152, the nays were 3. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The chair would like the members' attention, please, and I would like to reference rule number 1.3, and this is not directly to any one member because this has been violated a number of times in different ways, but no member in speaking shall be disrespectful to any other member, and all members shall carefully avoid references to personalities when addressing the House. The chair interprets this as direct or indirect negative comments or unfavorable motives. I know these issues become contentious and we feel strongly about them, but one can state the facts or your perspective without referencing another member. Thank you.
The clerk will read a resolution.
Unnumbered House Resolution by Burns of the 159th, a resolution relative to meetings and adjournments of the General Assembly.
Chair recognizes the majority leader of the House to speak to a resolution. All members listen up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Clerk, will you put some information up? Ladies and gentlemen, as you always know, my colleagues, that we always diligently work with the Senate to prepare a schedule that allows us to be here and tend to the work of this House that we are constitutionally bound to accomplish for our constituents, for this state. We've been working with the Senate on an adjournment resolution that will take us through the remainder of this session. This is a resolution that we worked on that we think is respectful of these members, respectful of the work we need to accomplish. But I would tell you that what I'm going to ask you to do is something a little bit different, but I'm going to ask you to adopt this resolution. This resolution is not in agreement, has not been agreed to by the Senate to be adopted, but we will send it to the Senate. We think this is the best course of business, how we continue to take care of our business. I will ask if you adopt this, as I think you should, we will immediately transmit to the Senate. If they do not agree to this, we will be in session on Saturday and Sunday of this week. They will count as legislative days. We may not be here, but they will count as legislative days. I'm going to ask you to adopt this resolution, and it will be immediately transmitted. Mr. Speaker, with that, I'm going to yield the well and ask the members to favorably consider this adjournment resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Leader, I want to commend you for working on this matter for, I guess, the better part of 2 weeks now, even before we came back Monday. Trying to fashion a schedule that was reasonable, I understand that people can't hear, and you might want to hear. The majority leader has worked diligently, even before we came back on Monday, to put together a schedule that was fair and reasonable, that accommodated all of the members, gave us time to get our work done and get out. And so I stand before you today more than a little disappointed, frankly. I'm joining the majority leader in asking you to adopt this resolution, and let's send it over and hope that the Senate will agree. If they do not, there is a probability that members will be eligible, should they so desire, for per diems for days that they will not be here working. And I understand there was some discussion yesterday about saving money by cutting legislative expenses. Those 2 days will cost the taxpayers of Georgia, in all likelihood, $88,576. Not one bill will be passed. Not one bill will come out of committee. I submit to you that that's not a good use of our resources, nor is it a good use of our time. Because when we come back on Monday without agreement by the Senate to this resolution, we will then be on day 37. $469 days. And they don't even have a hate crimes bill out of committee. Not even out of committee. The only thing that would make worse the failure to pass a bipartisan, clean, strong hate crimes bill would be to leave here with days unused that could have been used for the good of this state and its people. That's the posture that they're putting us in. And I am, it makes me sad as a Georgian to have to reflect upon that. Did you move for unanimous consent to adopt the resolution, or? The majority leader has moved for unanimous consent to adopt the adjournment resolution. Is there objection? Is there objection? Chair hears none. The adjournment resolution is adopted. What purpose does the majority leader rise?
Make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I would move that this document of adjournment for this House that we worked so hard on, that makes sense, that allows this House and the Senate to continue our work in an appropriate manner, be immediately transmitted to the Senate.
The majority leader has moved for immediate transmittal of the adjournment resolution to the state Senate. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is on its way over. I failed to mention that chair doesn't plan to, chair plans to return my per diem, but that's just me. So I'm not telling people what to do or asking them what to do, but that's where we are. The adjournment resolution is on its way to the Senate.
Can we take a little break?
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Appropriations Committee for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House disagree with the Senate substitute to House Bill 793, which is the FY21 budget.
Chairman England has moved that this House disagree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 783, the FY21 budget. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 793 by Representative Ralston, the 7th, Jones, the 47th, Burns, the 159th, and England, and the 116th. Bill be titled Act to Make and Provide Appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021.
On the gentleman's motion that this House disagree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 783, is there objection? Is there objection? 793, I'm sorry. Is there objection? Chair hears none, and the House has disagreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 793. This House is going to be in recess for about 15 minutes. 15 minutes.